how I put my life in due to cheap online products, which was a scam. Maya's hands trembled as she scribbled in her journal, the dim light of her phone casting eerie shadows across the pages. She had to document everything before they found her. Someone needed to know the truth about what happened in Shadow Pine. This is definitely not what the Airbnb photos looked like, Alex said, pulling their rental car up to the rusted iron gates. Beyond them, a narrow dirt road wound through dense pine forest, disappearing into darkness despite the afternoon sun. Come on, it adds to the charm. Raj grinned from the passenger seat, though his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. How many people can say they spent a weekend in a converted commune? In the back seat, Maya exchanged glances with Diana. They'd been best friends since college, and Maya could read the uncertainty in her expression. But they'd already driven 5 hours to get here, and the booking was non-refundable. The reviews were good, Diana offered weakly, and it's only for 2 nights. The property had seemed perfect when they'd found it online, a former commune from the 1970s converted into a rustic retreat center, complete with a dozen cabins scattered through the woods and a main lodge for gatherings. The listing had mentioned its fascinating history and authentic vintage atmosphere. Now, facing the reality of its isolation, Maya wished they'd opted for a normal hotel in the city. Alex punched in the gate code they'd received, and with a grinding screech, the entrance swung open. As they drove through, Maya could have sworn she saw movement in the trees, just a flash of white, there and gone. But when she turned to look, there was nothing but shadows between the pines. The main lodge emerged from the forest like a forgotten mansion, its wooden walls weathered gray with age. A handful of smaller cabins dotted the clearing around it, their windows dark and vacant. No other cars were visible. Wasn't this place supposed to be fully booked? Diana asked, voicing the question they were all thinking. Maybe everyone else is out hiking, Raj suggested, but his forced optimism wasn't fooling anyone. The interior of the lodge was frozen in time. Macrame wall hangings, faded photographs of smiling commune members, mismatched vintage furniture arranged around the massive stone fireplace. A layer of dust covered everything, despite the listing's promise of regular maintenance. Hello, Alice called out. Their voice echoed through the empty building. Anyone here? No answer. The check-in instructions said our cabin key would be in an envelope at the front desk, Maya said, approaching the ancient reception counter. She found the envelope with their name, but something else caught her eye. A leather-bound book, its pages yellow with age. The cover read simply, "The Community." As she reached for it, a voice broke the silence. I wouldn't do that if I were you. They all jumped. An elderly man had appeared in a doorway, though none of them had heard him approach. He wore overalls and a flannel shirt that looked as dated as the building itself. Sorry to startle you folks, he said, smile not quite reaching his eyes. I'm Gerald, the caretaker, just here to make sure you get settled in. Something about his presence made Maya's skin crawl, but she couldn't put her finger on why. He was perfectly polite as he showed them to their cabin, explaining the amenities and warning them about the spotty cell service. Yet there was an intensity to his gaze that set her on edge, especially when he looked at Diana. Dinner's served in the main lodge at 7, he said as he turned to leave. We hope you'll join us. Us? Alex asked. Are there other guests? Gerald's smile widened. There are always others here, whether you see them or not. That night, against their better judgment, they went to dinner. The lodge's dining room was dimly lit by candle, creating the unsettling impression that the faces in the old photographs were watching them. A pot of stew bubbled on the ancient stove, but Gerald was nowhere to be seen. They weren't alone though. Three other people sat at the long communal table: a middle aged woman with vacant eyes, a teenage boy who wouldn't look up from his bowl, and a man in his 30s wearing clothes that seemed decades out of date. None of them spoke or acknowledged the newcomers. Maybe we should just go back to the cabin, Diana whispered. But before they could leave, Gerald emerged from the kitchen with a tureen of stew. Please sit, he insisted. The community always dines together. The stew was oddly sweet, with an aftertaste Maya couldn't identify. As they ate, she noticed the other diners moving in perfect synchronization, lifting their spoons, sipping their water, dabbing, their mouths with napkin, all in unison. When she pointed this out to Raj, he laughed it off, but his laugh was slightly slurred. Is anyone else feeling weird? Alex asked, pushing their bowl away. The room seemed to be swaying slightly. Maya tried to stand, but found her legs wouldn't cooperate. Through increasingly blurry vision, she saw Diana slump forward onto the table. The last thing she remembered was Gerald's voice. Welcome to the community. Soon you'll understand. She woke up in darkness, her head pounding. She was lying on a thin mattress in what felt like a basement, the air thick with the smell of earth and decay. As her eyes adjusted, she made out other shapes in the gloom, bodies lying still on other mattresses. Alex, Raj, Diana. Her voice was barely a whisper. One of the shapes stirred. Maya. It was Alex, their voice weak. Something's wrong. I can't move my legs. The tea. Another voice. Raj. They put something in the tea. Where's Diana? Maya forced herself to sit up, fighting waves of dizziness, but as her eyes fully adjusted to the darkness, she realized there were more than just her friends in the basement. Dozens of bodies lay on mattresses, some moving slightly, others completely still. Some looked fresh, others didn't. Above, footsteps creaked across the floorboards. Maya heard chanting, many voices moving in perfect unison, and then Diana's voice, but different somehow, empty, mechanical. The community is one, the community is all, the community is forever. What followed was a nightmare of half remembered fragments. Maya recalled being dragged upstairs for ceremonies, watching helplessly as her friends were forced to drink more of the sweet tea. She remembered Diana's blank eyes as she joined the synchronized movements of the others, her personality dissolving into the collective. She remembered Raj's screams when he tried to resist, and then his silence. She remembered Alex's final words: Run, someone has to tell the truth. How she escaped is still a blur. She remembers breaking a window, running through the woods as chanting echoed behind her. She remembers headlights on the highway, a sympathetic truck driver, the local police who didn't believe her story. When they finally investigated the property 3 days later, they found nothing: no bodies, no Gerald, no evidence of the other community members, just empty buildings and her friend's abandoned car. The official report ruled it a drug-induced hallucination, noted her friends as missing person likely to have wandered off while intoxicated. But Maya knows the truth. Sometimes late at night, she still hears the chanting, and sometimes when she closes her eyes, she sees Diana's face among the synchronized rows of blank-eyed followers, mouthing those same words. The community is one. The community is all. The community is forever. She wonders if they are still there, hidden somehow, growing their numbers, one group of unsuspecting visitors at a time. She wonders if Diana is truly gone, or if some part of her friend remains trapped behind those vacant eyes. Most of all, she wonders if they'll find her eventually, now that she's shared their secret. After all, the listing is still active. The photo still shows sun-dappled cabin and charming vintage decor. And somewhere out there, another group of friends is probably planning a weekend getaway, drawn by the promise of a unique experience in a converted commune. The community is patient, the community is waiting, the community is forever,